Hey guys, so in today's video we are going to continue on with the Allied faction campaign. The first thing I'm going to do is show the opening movie, so to speak, regarding the setup for the storyline here. So in order to do that, from our main screen we're going to go to Movies and Credits, and then we're going to Play Movies, and that's going to give us the list of the little short cutscenes that begin each campaign video here. So we're just going to go through the intro movie here just to kind of set up the storyline, and then we're going to go right into the first Allied faction campaign mission. So we're going to select intro movie, play movie, and this is going to run us through the storyline here. Essentially, the storyline here is that the Soviet Union is attacking the United States.
How bad could it be, Ben?
According to NORAD, we've got Soviet aircraft coming at us from all directions and ground troops pushing up through Mexico. I don't know how they snuck in on us.
You better double check this with NORAD.
So as you can see from the graphic there, you
This
got the
doesn't make any
Soviet Union
sense.
attacking the United States
Call the
on
Kremlin.
both coasts,
Will
as
do.
well as coming up through the southern border. So the setup here is that the United States is suffering a significant attack from the Soviet Union.
Premier Romanov here.
What's going on over there, Alex?
Why, Mr. President? Whatever do you mean?
Alex, I have, you're throwing everything you've got at us, Alex. We're supposed to be allies, you maniac. I'm the one that put you into office.
And in a moment here, we're going to set up
I
a
am
main
not your
character
pet, Mr.
standing
President.
behind
We Romanovs
the
have our
Soviet
legacy to
Prime
consider.
Minister
I don't
here.
give a wooden nickel about your legacy. You call them off, Alex. You call them off. You know, we'll retaliate.
Oh, don't be so sure, Mr. President.
Sir,
Verification?
you betcha.
Sweet mother. It's time to hit back.
So it'll get into this a little bit,
Make it
but
happen.
the individual
sir.
standing behind the Soviet Union Prime Minister there
General
is
Carville.
a man known as
Soviet
Yuri, and
invasion
he has
confirmed.
mind control abilities, which we're going to see demonstrated here in a moment.
Adam Delta Charlie.
So the United States is attempting to retaliate with a nuclear missile strike.
Missile command.
10 seconds to launch. Open the missile silos. Jerry, what? We have to open the silos or they'll explode under... The silo doors are closed. This is suicide.
Is it done, Yuri?
No, Comrade Premier. It has only begun.
And from this moment here, we're just going to get some animations of the Soviet Union invasion and the initial steps of the occupation of the Soviet attack in the United States. Obviously, we saw the Statue of Liberty there. They're flying over New York City here. Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, just demonstrating that they are attacking on both coasts of the United States. Back in New York City at this point. So like I said, essentially we just get animations across the board of the Soviet Union invading the United States here. And this does a pretty good job of showing the actual technology and units and armor that the Soviet Union has in the game, which we'll get into later, but that is the intro movie here. And that concludes that. So from there, we're going to go to the first Allied faction campaign. So we're going to go back and back to the main menu. Single player here on the right side. And we're going to go to new campaign. And this top This top icon here demonstrates that you want to select the Allied campaign and play through that. Similar to the previous video, we're just going to keep this right in the middle here at the normal difficulty level. You could scroll all the way to the right to place this difficulty level on hard, or to the left to make it easy. And it doesn't seem as though you can go anywhere in between, so it's only 3 options here: easy, normal, or hard. So we're just going to keep it at normal for our playthrough here, and we're going to go ahead and select the Allied campaign here. What's going to happen is this is going to go into another little cutscene. Each campaign mission has a cutscene before it begins, and so this is going to essentially be a continuation of the storyline immediately after the movie that we just watched, kind of explaining what our mission is, and then we're going to go straight into the gameplay.
Commander, good morning. We've successfully instituted the President's Emergency Lazarus Protocol. I'm Lieutenant Eva, the intel officer assigned to your command. And since you're the only commander left alive, I guess I'm pretty lucky to have a job. It appears that we have suffered a full-scale Soviet invasion. Nearly all our major cities are under siege, and our forces are in complete disarray. Please stand by, Commander. We have an incoming broadcast from General Carville at the Pentagon.
I hope you're rested and ready, Commander, because as of 0800 hours, you are in control of every satellite, base, tank, airplane, enlisted man, woman, and child in the eastern United States. You answer to the President, and you answer to me. Your ops officer and vital lifeline will be the Lieutenant. Your point man for this mission will be Special Agent Tanya.
General, I hope the commander is up to speed because we don't have time to waste.
I'm sure Tanya has every confidence in you, Commander.
Oh, you're sure? Well, it's not your life that's on the line out here.
She's the best there is, but you'll get along better with the Soviets. You'll get started immediately. First stop, New York. The lieutenant will give you the details.
Not long ago, the Soviets made an amphibious landing on Manhattan Island and are using their ground troops to systematically take over the city. Fortunately, we still have a hold on Fort Bradley.
So as the gameplay begins, you'll see that we're actually going to have Special Agent Tanya available to us as a unit, which we'll get more into in a moment.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. The Soviet Navy is attacking the Statue of Liberty. We can't let them get away with that. Sir, is there anything you can do? Incoming transmission.
Tanya here. Listen up. We got a couple commie dreadnoughts in the harbor, looking for a special sightseeing tour of the Hudson River. I say we give them a very special view of the bottom first.
Control online.
So as I touched on, we have Special Agent Tanya here on the bottom of the screen available to us as a unit, and she has a number of properties available. So she actually has a C4 charge that she can use to destroy buildings, as well as some of the armored units that the Soviets or your enemy player may have. So as demonstrated, we just were able to, she can swim as well, I should clarify, which is needless to say, but she can go up to those dreadnought ships and place a C4 charge on them and destroy them pretty quickly. And she's very, very effective at eliminating enemy infantry units, which we'll see in a moment.
Moving out, boss. Anytime, boss.
And we're going to get another transmission here on the top right screen as the Statue of Liberty falls.
I offer a special invitation to citizens of the United States from the great Soviet Union. See your liberty, how she lies broken before you. In but a moment's time, your once powerful city of New York will follow in her footsteps. The choice is yours. You can continue to mourn your past or surrender and join us in the great Soviet Revolution.
You got an order?
Doesn't sound good, sir. We're going to have to double time it the rest of the way to reach Fort Bradley in time.
Show me the way. On there.
Okay, so as we touched on in our previous video, these general infantry units, these GIs, they are in their defensive position. So in order to move them with me, which I've now gained control over them. I need to press that D key on the keyboard, and now they're standing up and we're able to move them. So as far as the storyline goes, needless to say, the Soviet forces were attacking the Statue of Liberty. We were able to successfully take out their dreadnoughts in the water here before the Statue of Liberty fell, but regardless of what you do on this mission, the Statue of Liberty will be destroyed, prompting that transmission to come through with the Soviet Prime Minister kind of making fun of you for allowing the Liberty to fall. But if you destroy those dreadnoughts prior to the Statue of Liberty being destroyed, one of these V2, V3, it's either called a V2 or a V3 rocket, will fire a rocket, destroying it right there. And then the next objective you'll get after that transmission is done is to move these units through the city, which we will see in a moment here, to this Fort Bradley over here, which is an already established Allied base. So as we'll see, as we move through New York here, it's in ruins. All the buildings are critically destroyed for the most part. There's a couple intact here and there. But we'll see Soviet forces walking through here as we move through the city towards Fort Bradley. And essentially, we're not going to do much else other than take out these Soviet forces through the city as we move towards Fort Bradley. They will continue dropping paratroopers here for the remainder of the mission, but this is a good chance to see Tanya against enemy infantry units. She's going to take these guys out quite quickly. As you can see, quick work of that. And similar to what we touched on in the previous video, you'll see that this unrevealed terrain kind of disappears as your forces move through it. And pretty quickly we're already here in Fort Bradley. We're just going to move our units directly to the middle of the base.
We've reestablished contact with Fort Bradley. They're turning over control of the base and its troops to you. Incoming transmission.
Shake it, baby!
Good work, Commander. We're back in contact with the fort. Tanya has sent over intel on the location of an important Soviet supply base in the area. General Carville would like you to dispose of it ASAP. Oh, keep up the good work, sir.
Okay, so you'll notice a number of things. We've been given control over this base here. So I have a couple of buildings, several buildings on the side that I can build here. Everything is already constructed except for the barracks. So we've got 4 power plants and an ore refinery. You'll also notice there is an infantry unit that up to this point in the campaign we have not seen yet. We have 4 attack dogs already trained here for us. We're going to put our barracks right there. And you'll notice, let's see, you'll notice that we've got a number of other options here available to us. So since I built that barracks, we have a tab for infantry units that we can train. We've got a pretty limited selection here, but we can build GIs, which are these guys here, or we can train GIs rather. We can also train engineers, and we can train more attack dogs. And there will be more options available to us as the campaign progresses, but that's what we have available to us now. Now if we put these attack dogs out here, kind of in front of our base, that will allow for something to kind of slow down these infantry units that are going to continue coming at us through the remainder of this mission. We also have this shield tab, which indicates that we can build base defenses, which the only thing available to us again here is a pillbox. And that is what these guys are here, and here, here, and here.
Construction complete.
Build a couple of those as well. And those are a pretty basic defensive building here that's just going to shoot at these infantry. It's not going to kill them very quickly, but it will prevent those from coming inside of our base. Now you'll notice there's a couple of other tabs here that I haven't touched on yet. There's a wrench tab that you can select, and when it's selected you'll see it's elevated a little bit on the right side of your screen, versus if I click off of it with the right click, it will kind of go back to its non-selected view here. So if I click that, that's going to prompt the cursor to turn into this wrench here, and I can hover over any of my buildings that are not at full health and repair that. And you'll notice in the top right corner of the screen that slightly makes your money tick down while those buildings are being repaired. So it costs a little bit of money, not much, but you can go through and make slight repairs on your buildings there. We can also go like this, and I'm going to sell one of my defenses that I just built just for an example, but you can select this sell button, and you can go through, and you'll notice the cursor, when you're not hovering over something, has that sign crossed out, indicating that you're not going to sell anything. The moment you hover over one of your buildings, you have the option to sell it. You'll notice that cursor changes again, and that red circle disappears. So we can go over one of our pillboxes, for example, left click,
Structure sold.
and that will sell your structure. You'll see your money go back up,
Building.
and the structure will kind of sink into the ground and disappear there. We'll rebuild that just for the heck of it.
Construction complete.
We'll put our dogs right there, just so they attack those infantry units right when they land. We're going to put our pillbox back. And then we're going to continue with the mission here. So from our barracks, we're going to go back over on the right side of the screen here to our infantry tab. We're going to train an engineer.
New rally
And like I touched on in our previous video, the way to rebuild a broken bridge here is to put an engineer in one of these bridge repair huts on either side of the bridge.
He can repair any allied building, and once inside an enemy building, turn it to our side. He is much smarter than his Soviet counterpart.
So what I'm going to do with my GIs here is destroy this little barrier here, this gate. So you'll notice that when I hover over this gate, it doesn't prompt the attack icon here. So sometimes if you're attacking something that is not an enemy, the initial cursor will not be the attack cursor. So I'll have to hold the control button, indicating that I do want to attack this even though it's not an enemy. And while I do that, it's going to turn that cursor into the attack cursor. So while I'm holding the control button, I can then indicate that to my GIs that I want to attack this gate here. So if I'm not holding control, the initial cursor will not indicate I want to attack something. The same will apply to like a civilian building, for example. If for whatever reason I wanted to destroy that, I would have to hold the attack button over that, or I'm sorry, the control button, while I have my unit selected, and then that will allow me to attack that building. So for this gate, I'm going to hold the control button and then indicate that I want my GIs to attack that gate so we can move through. Okay, now that's destroyed. I'm going to move my engineer into one of these bridge repair huts, like we touched on in the previous video as well.
We'll have to get our engineers to repair it.
You'll notice that when the engineer goes into this bridge repair hut, he's going to disappear. So your engineers are only good for one use, essentially. If you use him to go in one of your own buildings and repair it, if it's critically damaged, he will disappear into the building and you cannot use the engineer more than once. The same way when we put him in this bridge repair hut, he's going to repair the bridge, but he's going to disappear off the map. That's the only time that we can use this engineer.
Studying blueprints.
Bridge repaired.
Just like that. So now our bridge is repaired, our engineer is gone. We're going to move Tanya across this bridge here. And we got petroleum barrels here. In our previous video, we also talked about petroleum barrels. Essentially, you want to keep your distance here, but attacking this will cause a decent deal of damage, and it will set off a domino effect and destroy the remainder of these barrels here. They're highly explosive. So, as you can see, that set off a chain reaction. Those barrels are gone. I'll move Tanya in here and get rid of these infantry. So when the video began, this mission began, you'll notice that we were over here in the harbor as far as this map goes, and Tanya was able to get rid of the dreadnoughts, the boats that were firing missiles off very quickly by using these C4 charges. You'll notice if you hover over an enemy building, that C4 charge is available. The icon turns into that C4 charge. And so she could dispatch that building very quickly. Now that C4 charge is not available against all kinds of armor here. So if I were to attempt to destroy this V3 launcher here with Tanya, you'll notice she uses her handguns, and it would take a very long time to destroy that completely. If you hover over that, you can see his health bar, and that is not a very effective unit against these V3 launchers or any Soviet tank unit entirely. So we're going to move our GIs in here as well and garrison this building and use these GIs to take out some of these V3 launchers.
How about some action? I'm on.
And while we do that, I'm going to move Tanya a little further into the unrevealed terrain of this base.
We need speed up upgraded.
And you'll notice when these GIs garrisoned this building here, they instantly started shooting at the V3 rocket. That tends to be the case when you put GIs into a building. They will start to shoot at whatever is in their range. You don't necessarily have to indicate that you want them to begin firing upon, kind of like that, upon what's in their range. They will just do it on their own. We'll move a few of them over here. Take out that V3.
Structure garrisoned.
I want them in their defensive position.
Unit promoted.
You'll notice that the GIs are much more effective at taking out those V3 launchers than Tanya is. So we're going to continue moving her into this base here. And at this point, since she's in here, we can just start destroying their bases, or their buildings, quite quickly. That cursor icon turns into a C4 charge. You can simply click that and she dispatches that building pretty quickly. And from here, we're just going to wreak havoc in the Soviet base. You'll notice a number of different things here. The Soviet technology and buildings look different than the Allied buildings. So this is the equivalent of the construction yard. This is just the Soviet version of that. This is the Soviet barracks. This is the Soviet radar, which is a building that we do not have available to us for the Allies yet in the campaign, but we'll get into that a little later. I didn't touch on it before I destroyed them, but you saw a couple of rectangle-shaped buildings over here. Those were the Soviet essentially tank makers. They allow you to build tanks for the Soviets, which we also have not seen yet for the Allies, but we'll get into that very soon. And this one here is the Soviet power plant. They call that a Tesla reactor. That is the equivalent of the Allied power plant, just the Soviet counterpart of that. And we're just going to continue through the base here. And the reason I'm being a little bit careful about how far that way I go is because you'll notice that there are these sentry guns here. And these are the Soviet counterparts for the pillbox, rather, that the Allies have. This is just a basic defensive weapon here, but if I move Tanya too close to those, they're going to be somewhat effective in eliminating her, so I don't want to do that. Now, we do have our GIs over here still, and I touched on this a little bit in the previous video going over the tutorial, but these stars that you see on some of these GIs indicate veteran status, and a 3-star veteran status is the highest rank that a unit can get. And so this GI in particular has reached 3-star veteran status, and you'll notice that because he's reached that, his range has increased enough where he can take out these sentry guns without being in the sentry gun range to fire back at him, which is very, very nice. Very effective to take out these sentry guns without being at risk of losing any of our units there. So without those, we're pretty clear to just move about the base as we wish. Take out the remainder of the buildings, and that is going to conclude the first Allied mission of the Allied campaign.
Primary objective achieved. Our base is under attack. Mission accomplished.
Alright, and that's it. That concludes the first Allied mission.